Really?
Yeah. Not like a winter day, other than the rain. But according to weather forecast, from tomorrow onward, the temperature will go down. And it will be below freezing.
Really?
According to the weather report, we trust those things. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Harinama Sankirtanam ki Rihat Madanga ki Prabhupada Transcendental Book Marathon ki Rantaraj Srímad Bhágavatam ki Lord Premanande Prabhupada ki Jai. Glorious to the assembled devotees, glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Govinda. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Vicharine Nirvase Krishnalari Pasichari Sitari. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Today we're reading from the Srímad Bhágavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, and it is text number 7. We have it on a screen that devotees can see. So
From behind, yes.
From behind, okay. So we can repeat the verse, and the devotees can repeat. Maybe on your mobile somewhere you have. Samyak Vidayatam Balaha Gurugehe Dvijatibihi Vishnu Pakshaihi Pratichanai Navidyeta Asya Dihi Yatha Samyak Vidayatam Balo Gurugehe Vijatibihi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibihi
Gurude Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibihi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Prakshay Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Nabidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Nabidyetasya Dhiryata
Samyak Vidayatam Balo
Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Ladies, Vaishnavis.
Samyak Balo
Samyak Vidhayatam Balo
Guruge Dvijatibi
Guruge Dvijatibi
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Vishnu Pakshai Pratichanai
Navidyetasya Dhiryata
Navidyetasya Dhiryatha
Samyak.
Samyak
Completely.
Completely
Vidayatam.
Vidayatam
Let him be protected.
Let him be protected
Balaha.
Bala
This boy of tender age.
This boy of tender age
Guru Gehe.
Guruge
In the Gurukul.
In the Gurukul
The place where children are sent
The place where children are sent
to be instructed by the Guru.
to be instructed by the Guru
Dvijatibihi.
Dvijatibi
By Brahmanas.
by Brahmanas
Vishnu Pakshai.
Vishnu Pakshai
Who are on the side of
Vishnu
Vishnu. Pratichanai.
Pratichanai
Disguised
Disguised
in different dresses.
different dresses
Na Vidyeta
Navidyeta
may not be influenced.
may not be influenced
Asya
Asya
of him.
of him
Dihi
Dihi
the intelligence.
the intelligence
Yata
Yata
so that.
so
So we're continuing. Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants. After this instant where there's a little bit of trouble in the Gurukul. Some mischief going on there. Misbehavior. It's got to be rectified. So Hiranyakashipu on finding out, discovering that there's intrusion within the Gurukul. Pollution. Misbehavior, misdirection. Hiranyakashipu advises assistants, my dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukul, where he is instructed, so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas who may go there in disguise. And this is one of the very well-known purports of Srila Prabhupada in regards to preaching Krishna consciousness. Purport: in our Krishna consciousness movement, the tactic of dressing oneself like an ordinary karmi is necessary because everyone in the demoniac kingdom is against the Vaishnava teachings. Krishna consciousness is not at all to the liking of the demons of the present age. As soon as they see a Vaishnava dressed in saffron garments with beads on his neck and tilak on his forehead, they are immediately irritated. They criticize the Vaishnavas by sarcastically saying, Hare Krishna! And some people also chant Hare Krishna sincerely. In either case, since Hare Krishna is absolute, whether one chants it jokingly or sincerely, it will have its effect. The Vaishnavas are pleased when the demons chant Hare Krishna, because this shows that the Hare Krishna movement is taking ground. The greater demons, like Hiranyakashipu, are always prepared to chastise the Vaishnavas, and they try to make arrangements so that the Vaishnavas will not come to sell their books and preach Krishna consciousness. Thus, what was done by Hiranyakashipu long ago is still being done. That is the way of materialistic life. Demons or materialists do not at all like the advancement of Krishna consciousness, and they try to hinder it in many ways. Yet the preachers of Krishna consciousness must go forward in their Vaishnava dress or any other dress for the purpose of preaching. Chanaka Pandit says that if an honest person deals with a great cheater, it is necessary for him to become a cheater also, not for the purpose of cheating, but to make his preaching successful. Hare Krishna. That's the purport of today's verse. And as we're at this point of time endeavoring to, we have many services, but at this point of time in ISKCON, predominantly the main emphasis is on trying to distribute Prabhupada's books. So it's amazing to see that Prabhupada is mentioning how that the demons try to impede the distribution of his books, which, as we know, were most dear to Srila Prabhupada. Every service was dear, no doubt about that. But primary emphasis placed on distributing books was there. And again, we see sometimes people, not just the public, as we heard yesterday, Prabhupada was criticized, or in persons in different spheres of life try to impede his message or his preaching, his mission. Even his own godbrothers, in some cases, were not encouraging in any way, sometimes negative. Sometimes criticizing the techniques, the results, or whatever. But Srila Prabhupada made it quite clear, not just in terms of preaching and transforming the lives of others in different parts of the world. And even in India now we see that traditionally, the traditional, let's say, methodology is still there, but the youth of today in India are also pretty much similar to the youth in the West, and one has to adapt in many ways the technique. And with Prabhupada, when he first came to New York, or Boston to be precise, his first, New York in his constitution, let's say, his first principle was to teach the techniques of spiritual life. Techniques. So those techniques, Prabhupada writes, may vary from one place to another. Sometimes due to lack of intelligence, laziness, envy, short-mindedness, whatever the reason may be, one does not allow such adjustment, but sticks firmly. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj one time told a story of a family well. A well, if you don't know, do you know what a well is? A place in the ground where you get water. So they had a family well, and it was the tradition they would all take their water from the family well. The grandfather was there, the father. Everyone was taking the water from the well. It was like a tradition, part of the family practically, this well. And over the course of time, as things happen in this world, the well became poisonous. But they still insisted, we have to take the water from the well. Whether we go to hell or not, we have to take the water from the well. And they were getting sick. Still, no, we have to take. And he said, this is blind, following blindly, not understanding the point. Just concerned with the externals only. Niyama agraha. Just externals. Not understanding. And Prabhupada so many times emphasized this important point. The real point is in the heart. It's the consciousness. The ingredient. In this Kali Yuga particularly, a lot of emphasis is placed on the externals. How one dresses, the labels, the designer label, whatever it is. Whether what the product is may or may not be good or bad, whatever. But the labeling, the address, the title is so important. People don't listen. You have to have a title. You have to have some rubber stamping. It's a demoniac age of Kali. And they certainly don't want to, let's say, recognize the Prabhupada is mentioning here, this Krishna consciousness movement is a great threat to them in America. During the 70s, one a senator or something, he declared that if this Hare Krishna movement is not stopped, it will take over the government of America. Deadly. Dangerous. In Russia, in the TASS newspaper, probably in the 80s. Headlines, the greatest threat to communism. Western rock music and Hare Krishna. Deadly, dangerous cult. Polluting, as Rani Kashu would say, polluting the intelligence of the children. Very afraid of their children. Many of you may have had a similar experience when you began your journey in Krishna conscious journey in this lifetime. Some objections may have been there. Family objections, social objections, religious objections. My parents brought the priest around to try to, bring me to my senses. May. It's like in Bali. Many of you have been to Bali. Who's been to Bali? Bali Island in Indonesia. You haven't been there yet? Oh, goodness. I thought everybody went there. Have you been there, Prem?
No.
No, oh my goodness. You've been there?
No,
Have you? You've not been there? I'm amazed.
not yet.
Not yet, no. Thousands of devotees there. They love Kirtan. You've been there, Krishna Prasad.
No, but my husband went.
I'm amazed. Only Jivananda's been. Anyone else has been there? Tai, what do you do then? Hey? You went there.
Maybe it's better I don't say.
It's supposed to be a Hindu state, you know? Part of Indonesia, but in Indonesia you've got to be a member of one of 4 religions. You can't be anything else. If you've got to sign up. No matter who you are. You're mostly Muslim, of course. It's a Muslim country. But they recognize the other 3 religions, and there's only 3. They don't recognize certain of them. But you've got to be Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, or Christian. No matter what you are, you've got to be one of those 4. So Hare Krishna, what can they do? I mean, the Christians won't accept us as one of them, and certainly the Muslims won't accept us as one of them. And we're not going to tick the Buddhist box, become Mayavadis or impersonalists or something. So we have to tick the Hindu box. But the Hindus refuse to accept us because the Hare Krishnas are preaching vegetarianism and preaching, moralistic principles Brahmins should be following. So, the Hindus are run by corrupt Brahmins who also are advisors to the king, or the president rather, of Indonesia. And they hated it because the Hare Krishnas were, uncovering their cheating. You didn't get the point? They were, people were in darkness. They have no direct connection with Vedic culture, really. They used to. But now they become contaminated. They have one, and maybe they come to their senses a bit more, but when I was there, which was I used to go there, but a long time ago, and the philosophy they were teaching was that cow is pure, therefore we should eat it. And you become purified. What a philosophy. And when Prabhupada's books came in, no! They looked at the books and they saw, this is terrible! This ban. They banned us. Luckily, the Muslim government eventually realized that, and they actually accepted us. The Muslims the ones who accepted us. Not as a part of the Muslim, but as bonus. Recognized. Yeah. It's happening not only there, in a few other places too. In Malaysia, in Penang, we were negotiating to get some land from the government. One of our devotees works in the land allotment department. So he found this fantastic piece of land which was available. It is allotted for non-Muslim religious purpose. So we applied for it. And the Muslim don't know nothing. So we had a meeting. They called us for a meeting with their, the committee that makes the decisions on land allotment. There were 4 of them. 2 Muslims, 1 Buddhist, one Hindu. It was religious, No, 1 Christian. Anyway, whatever. There's a group of them, and in the meeting, the Hindu was fighting tooth and nail to not let us get that land. The Muslim was asking, well, what's the difference between Shiva and Krishna? And so he explained what the difference is. He said, oh, that's a good reason to give you the land, he said. Because there's no Krishna temple in that area. Only Shiva. The Hindu said, no, we're not going to give. He was fighting like tooth and nail. Incredible, huh? We got the land because he was outvoted. And you were there. You've been to that temple now. The temple has been built there, a beautiful temple. So that was quite an interesting meeting, I must say. Anyway, this is envy. So much envy. You can't do it. Don't let them do it. Prabhupada mission, he did it. We all know the story of Christopher Columbus. Huh? Prabhupada told the story. Anyone could have done it, You were just lucky or something, just by chance or something. And Prabhupada said, why didn't you do it then? Why didn't you do it? Just like Columbus said, right, when he went to America? Oh, anyone could have discovered that. He said, well, why didn't you? He said, here, take an egg. Okay, give an experiment. He took an egg. Okay, stand the egg on its end. No one could do it. You ever try standing an egg on its not on its side, on its end? You ever try that? It just doesn't stay still. It's flop this way, flop that way, right? So what did Columbus do? He took a spoon, tap on the end, so it became flat, and put it on his end. And then he said, oh, come on, anyone can do that. He said, then why didn't you do it? But he said, Janananda Maharaj gave the order to his disciples, many of them, to preach. It wasn't just their problem. Many. Prabhupada did it, that's the difference. I mean, others can do also, maybe doing something. That was the secret. And something, this is terrible. Previously, as sannyasi would not even go overseas. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was revolutionary, right? He even said his disciples should dress more, let's say, attractively, more, even opulently than the people around him. You see Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj receiving Westerners in Mayapur. He's dressed very immaculately. And his own disciples are dressed up like English waiters. Sannyas disciples, they're dressed up with those, if you've seen those pictures, there's some of his sannyas disciples dressed up there. With like long tails and, the bow tie and the hat and all these things. They look like, imitation Western, whatever. But they look the part for the situation. And he would compromise. He imported a Western toilet. So there would be a Western toilet for them. Even brought in cooks from Calcutta to cook non-vegetarian food. Even had people roll cigarettes for his workers. Yeah, he wasn't, why? What was the purpose? And that's here. The goal has to be clear. The goal is to connect or bring people to Krishna consciousness. It's not a rubber stamping that now I'm a Vaishnava because I got a shaved head and tilak. Prabhupada writes, he said, if that helps us to develop Krishna consciousness, fine. But that's not the point. That's external. We get hung up. In another place, Prabhupada said, the rules and regulations of Hari Bhakti Vilas are specifically written for India. They are not appropriate in other parts of the world. The Acharya has to be, broad-minded enough to see what actually is effective in awakening the Krishna consciousness in people's hearts. It's not all about tilak and neckbeads. That may be useful. And in fact, it can be very useful. When Prabhupada was in Nairobi, he was commenting upon when he went through Athens on the plane. Now, at that time, there was no Hare Krishna in Athens whatsoever. I'm going back to the early 70s, right? But when he was in the airport, because some of the people obviously had seen it on TV or something or whatever, in the newspaper maybe, and they saw this Prabhupada there, dressed like this. Hey, Hare Krishna, right? Now what is it? They have no clue. But they think this is Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada said this is very wonderful. Already preaching, just by dressing like this, many people remember Krishna. It's very good. It's a form of preaching also. Right? When they see the dhoti, or the sari and tilak, many people, especially the dhoti, because the sari is a little common amongst ladies all over the world. But this is not so common. So when they say, and the shaved head now is common too, and even the shikhas become more common. But generally speaking, people say, oh, the Hare Krishnas, or are you Buddhist? That's a common thing in this country, they don't know anything. But many times they, Hare Krishna, they say, jokingly, parihasya. whatever it is, jokingly. It's called namabas. It's not with knowledge, it's not with love, but it's not with an offense exactly. Even if it is, Prabhupada says, even if here they're criticizing, openly criticizing, still is beneficial. Beneficial is there. They have to suffer a little bit for some misbehavior. But the benefit of saying Hare Krishna is eternal. That's the beginning. Lord Nityananda, when you go door to door, right? Please chant Hare Krishna. Go away. They sometimes say, go away. I have no time for this Hare Krishna. Go away. Just like they say now, right? You get on the street all the time. Huh? No time, no money, no mercy, no nothing. Right? No mercy. All the time they say no mercy. Isn't that amazing? No mercy, they say. They don't want any mercy. No mercy, go away. French language is amazing like that. Non-mercy. I don't want it. Call the police. Sometimes they do. They try to impede. Now, Kali is striking real strong right now, trying so many different ways to tighten the knot of illusion, keep them under control. And still the devotees are going, finding ways, get there somehow or another. Use the techniques that they use. This is Anukulina Krishna Shilim. We have to use that which is favorable in achieving our goal. Achieving the goal. So if it's favorable, Prabhupada is saying here, to wear the dress, this dress or that dress, according to time and circumstance, according to the individual's consciousness also, how you feel, but what brings about the effective result. Prabhupada was a little bit hesitant in the beginning when devotees, Rameshwar was writing to him saying, the devotees are going out in karmi clothes with wigs. Prabhupada was a little bit concerned that they were going to be kind of hippie again, Because most of the devotees came from the hippie background. I don't know, Agni Dev Prabhu, whether you were part of the hippie band. Were you a hippie band, man?
A hippie band, man? I don't know what that is.
A hippie, a man, a member of the hippies.
Well, I was attracted to it.
Attractive, but not a full-on, not a sold-out member.
No.
I guess I was similar in many ways. Most of us were. Some were more, let's say, advanced in hippie.
Yes, I'm going trench.
And they were very deep, and all the other paraphernalia that goes along with it. To some extent, we were, and many went back to that type of ignorance.
Yeah.
Prabhupada was afraid that because the dress does have its effect, identification in the Varnashram is based on identification too, in one sense, but it's devised in such a way favorably to help us to become free, sarvupadi vinirmuktam tatpadadvena nirmam. But Prabhupada was worried that, that again dressing, he was thinking maybe long wigs, looking like hippies and dressed with jeans and t-shirts again, just like we did before, would be detrimental and start identifying. And I saw that even when sannyasi came to England. I don't think Agni Dev Prabhu would know him very well. If you remember Rishikeshananda.
Yeah.
So he came to England, and his philosophy was, we're going to go right into the heart of the hippie land in Notting Hill Gate, and we're going to stay there. He went there, and
Came back.
and he ended up smoking dope, because he got round again later on, but he compromised. Another devotee, godbrother, in England, and he was quite an unusual person, but he was convinced that to convert the drunkards, you had to go and drink with them. So he would go around the pubs and preach. But he ended up a drunkard. We're not that strong, We're not Lord Nityananda, He can go into a pub, he's not. You don't doubt it. He's not going in there to have a drink, And even if he does it, he can do what he likes. But he's going in there to preach. And a lot of times devotees compromise. Prabhupada was really worried about that, and we had that in France too sometimes, For the sake of trying to sell a painting or a carpet, you might, have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something, Something crazy like that, Dangerous. Prabhupada was worried about that. But when he heard that the devotees were dressing like gentlemen and gentlewomen, he wasn't opposed. They weren't dressing like hippies or So they were dressing nicely, and selling more books. The Prabhupada was, and their consciousness. The main thing is you have to continue your devotional practices. It's like Janananda Swami. Now here's an example in our modern day and age. On New Zealand, okay, they go out sometimes in ordinary Western clothes and sometimes in dhotis, and they've employed, techniques to try to capture people's attention. They have any of you been to his loft programs in New Zealand? It's really amazing, I tell you. I've been going for decades. I've been there since the day one when he first started it in 1995, in 1994 in New Zealand. And it's amazing success. I mean, it really was. Is still. And they were a little bit behind the scenes, this and that, trying to find ways of bringing people. But they're really straightforward. All the boys can go out on book distribution. And they have Harinam, the girls look after the yoga and the Harinam temple. They also go out on book distribution. And many times they get criticized. Oh, this is off the wall, this yoga, hatha yoga and stuff. Let me tell you a little secret there. They don't make devotees through the hatha yoga program. The hatha yoga program is the financial basis of the program. People pay money for the lessons. The devotees get paid. The grihastas have an income. Everybody who comes, they do make devotees, but not like quick. They get prasadam, they have bhajan and kirtan. Is using intelligence. And you can say, well, I don't like this. But Prabhupada said, then you do better. That was what he was. You do better. I have a letter. I have a letter from Prabhupada where Prabhupada is said too. Where Prabhupada is saying, this is very intelligent that you are attracting. This is in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, he said, it's very good that you are bringing people here to practice, to do yoga, hatha yoga. And he said, and I will teach them how to do pranayama, Prabhupada said. What works, what is effective in bringing out Krishna consciousness in people. That's the point. So, in the last, long time now, 20 years or more, but Deva Rita Maharaj has made, his program has made, more than 250 full-time Western devotees. They say, the result, what's that term?
Judging by the result.
Yeah. So what do you say? Now those devotees, most of them are book distributors, they're opening up press, preaching centers, they're opening up farms, they're maintaining our farm in some ways, in New Varshan now also. And they're going all over the world preaching. Is there anything wrong in that? Is it wrong? And they're studying 2 hours a day. And distributing. So the result, is to be seen. So here we have many examples of this. Let's take King Prataparudra, one of my favorite pastimes. King Prataparudra received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He was dressed as a king. He was identified as a king. Lord Chaitanya teaching a lesson. As long as we're identified with his body, we don't get there. It's a process of transformation. The good fortune of King Prataparudra, he was a great devotee, but he had the good fortune of the mercy of the other devotees. And they were all appealing to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please give him your darshan. No. Whatever he may be, he goes by the name King. I will not give. I will not. If you want me to do it, I will go away. Lord Chaitanya was very strict. And then, of course, cut a long story short, but at the Rath Yatra festival, Lord Chaitanya was ecstatic to see King Prataparudra humbly sweeping the floor before the Lord Jagannath. He was in a very humble, thinking how fortunate I am to have this service, even though he is king of Orissa, king of much of Eastern India at that time. And still, the Lord Chaitanya was, Lord Chaitanya fell down at one point during that in his ecstatic dancing, and even Govinda wasn't there, no one was around. And Prataparudra, King Prataparudra went forward, taking his chances to pick the Lord up. And, I've been touched by a king! He was shocked. Prataparudra, he was like shaking. Oh, no, I'm finished. So everyone said, no, don't worry. Actually, it's a sign. Lord Chaitanya is now accepting him. And Sarvabhauma advised him when they came to Jagannath Garden. They advised him. Lord Chaitanya went inside with all of his followers to take a little nap, a little rest. Now is your chance. He said, take off your king dress. Dress like a simple Vaishnava. And so he did. And he got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It's not about changing this dress so much as the inner dress. That's the problem. We're carrying an inner dress of identification. This is the real challenge. So if the outer dress helps to change the inner dress, great. If it doesn't, it's an impediment on the path. Just to identify, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a sannyasi, I'm a this and I'm a that. Hard luck, I'll pray for you. Pure Vaishnavas will sing. They may not say it like that, but basically to free us from this identification and to identify ourselves as the servant of the servant. And a devotee will do anything if it helps to fulfill his spiritual master's instructions. I'm just going to read a couple of things because time is short. This is such a big topic, and Prabhupada has talked about it literally hundreds of times. Two subjects: methodology of achieving the goal and the effects of, let's say, that methodology on the public in terms of their remembering Krishna, whether it's in jest, whether it's in critical nature, whether it's in humble, whatever their mood is. The benefits are unlimited. And the same with the books. Prabhupada said that even if they just see the book, they're benefited. Even if they don't touch it, even if they don't open it, even if they don't read it, they get benefited. They're deities. The books are deities. So let's see what should we read. Okay, I'll just read a few things to cap off. This is from Satsvarup Maharaj in the Leelam Rita. I'm praying for the day that will be reprinted in French. It's such an important book, that little one especially. We should take every opportunity, said Prabhupada. We are the best opportunists. Anukulena Krishna Ashu. This is Anukul, favorable for spreading Krishna consciousness. And we should immediately accept it. It doesn't matter what it is. Now, Satsvarup Maharaj was referring to the library party. And he was a sannyasi at the time. But they started this library book distribution in the libraries. Not like sets, selling them to professors. So perhaps some of you have heard of it. I was on that program with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj for a short while, for a month or two in the UK. Amazing, just unbelievable how, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, because he was one of the main ones on that program at that time, Ganasham. But Satsvarup Maharaj was the leader of that program. He asked Prabhupada, I'm a sannyasi, Srila Prabhupada, is it okay if I dress like this with a suit and a wig? And Prabhupada said, he was absolutely into it, because it was so important to get those books to the professors or whatever, the libraries and so on. So many. Prabhupada was so inspired by that program. So inspired. So many times Prabhupada had discussions. Here in France, there were quite a few discussions on this subject. In Geneva with Guru Garanga, the governor of Geneva, or whatever he is, was asking this question, you're bringing this funny culture here into the West. Because they see it as a dress, there's paint on your forehead and, there's bed sheets and stuff. They don't understand the philosophy, so Prabhupada made it quite clear that is not important. You can dress any way you like, as long as it's the consciousness that counts. And Prabhupada emphasized that so many times, over and over. And he himself was criticized for things like giving Brahmin initiation to Maleshas and Yavanas in the minds of some Indian Brahmins and so on, giving, initiation and marrying Westerners, initiation to the girls, Brahmin initiation, so many things, having the girls out on book distribution, things which are unheard of in terms of traditional, narrow-minded cultists, whatever. Prabhupada was so broad-minded in this regard, but protective at the same time. As Hiranyakashipu was talking about, protect my son from these dangerous Vaishnavas. Don't let them in. We get that a lot in other religions, and countries even, speak of families and so on. Don't let them in. It's like one of my disciples is preaching in the universities in Delhi. And he said, we're banned from all the universities. We have to go in disguise. We can't wear dhotis. And we have to go through, some yoga or something else now. We can't. They banned us, especially from IIT, because so many intelligent boys have joined the Hare Krishna movement. The universities have banned the Hare Krishnas. Their parents are complaining. Such a demoniac mentality. They just don't have. It just really is. I mean, externally, whatever it looks like, but internally, the motivation is demoniac. To keep people in illusion, to keep people in ignorance. Don't let them out. Don't let them out. I think I didn't mention it. Something Srila Prabhupada said yesterday, but it was like that. It's like in Malaysia they have a saying. There are three main races in Malaysia. There's the Indians, the Muslims, and the Chinese. And they get on pretty well. I mean, perhaps more than most countries. They're pretty good, actually. And they even joke with each other. And they actually were very friendly with it. You've been in Krishna style.
No, yeah? No.
You haven't been anywhere. You don't need to go anywhere. You're in France now. Everything's in France. It's the heart of the universe, isn't it, France? Right? If you're
Especially
French.
here.
Here, the heart of the universe. We just can't quite see it for what it is yet. It is, yeah. We still see it with external eyes. Well, the Parasish were the heart of the universe, and thank you so much for so beautifully worshipping their lordships. But they have this saying, and this is one Indian devotee told me this. I think he said, we have this saying here that in a prison, if there's an Indian, Chinese, and Muslim in a prison, right, for the Indians, you have to build an extremely high wall. Very high wall around the prison. If I get it right. No, get it wrong. For the Chinese, you have to build an extremely high wall. For the Indians, you don't need any wall at all. For the Malays, just normal. What does that mean? Said, well, the Chinese, if they're in prison, each and every one of them will do everything they can to help the others out. They'll stand on each other's heads so one of them can escape. For the Muslims, they don't think like this, that we're in prison. They just didn't have much thought about these things. For the Indians, he said, they had no wall, because if one tries to escape, they're pulling back in. Huh? That's they said that. They themselves said that, the Indian people. Don't let them out the bubble. Whatever you do, keep them in. Attachment to the family, to the religion, to the cult, to the behavior, to the Maya. It's Maya's business. Keep us under illusion. But kick at us at the same time, so that maybe we come to our senses. How much of this kicking am I going to take? We mentioned the King of that, but I won't mention it. Here's a nice one from the little later in the 7th canto. For Paramahamsas or sannyasis in the Vaishnava order, preaching is the first duty. To preach, such sannyasis may accept the symbols of sannyas, such as the danda and kamandalu. Sometimes they may not. Generally, the Vaishnava sannyasis, being Paramahamsas, are automatically called Babajis, and they do not carry a kamandalu or danda. Such a sannyasi is free to accept or reject the marks of sannyas. His only thought is, where is there an opportunity to spread Krishna consciousness? Sometimes the Krishna conscious movement sends its representative sannyasis to foreign countries where the danda and kamandalu are not very much appreciated. We send our preachers in ordinary dress to introduce our books and philosophy. Our only concern is to attract people to Krishna consciousness. We may do this in the dress of sannyasis or in the regular dress of gentlemen. Our only concern is to spread interest in Krishna consciousness. That's our concern. So whether this way or that way, just like devotees, some of the young devotees are going to yoga programs and doing kirtan, As long as that's the motivation to attract or interest people in Krishna consciousness, it's intelligent. And that's the duty of a preacher, to find the means to bring people to Krishna consciousness without compromising our own Krishna consciousness. So much to read. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement should perform Sankirtan Yajna one after another, so much that all the people of the world will either jokingly or seriously chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just like our Namahata Swami. You know Namahata Maharaj? You know Namahata Maharaj. You know Namahata Maharaj? He's really expert at getting people to dance and chant, sing the holy name. I call him Nama. We have a joke. I call him Namahata. He has this hat on his head with all these dioramas under the holy name. I call him Namahata. Namahata. Some people call him a Mad Hatter, but I call him Namahata. And he goes everywhere and gets this, like, he showed me a picture yesterday. He's dancing with Santa Claus in, where was that, Mexico? Mexico City. He's also got, Santa Claus partial outfit on. And he's getting hundreds of people to dance and chant the holy names. And we don't have to imitate that. We've got to see our own situation. But somehow or another, to get people to chant the holy name. It is not possible at the present moment to perform repeated yogyas as Maharaj Barishat performed, but it is within our means to perform Sankirtan Yoga, which does not cost anything. One can sit down anywhere and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. If the surface of the globe is overflooded with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, the people of the world will be very, very happy. Imperceptible auspiciousness achieved in connection with Sankirtan. Oh, I missed it. The Krishna consciousness movement has started performing Sankirtan Yajna in different places, and it has been experienced wherever Sankirtan Yoga is performed, many thousands of people gather and take part in it. Imperceptible auspiciousness achieved in this connection should be continued all over the world, and Prabhupada wanted this preaching to go every single town and village. So whether we're dressed in beer barrels or leaves or whatever is suitable for distributing this message of Krishna consciousness. I mean, in New York, you were in New York, right, during those 70s, and devotees used to do some really bizarre things, right? Mm-hmm. What was that devotee's name? They bounce their bellies again up to each other in the train, they run, boom, the Santa Claus, boom, What's his name? One famous devotee. They used to do some amazing things. History, thousands of books on the subway, right? Subway. Now we do it in London too. We used to stop it and go into the carriage, make an announcement. We're just going round now. Well, we just say some funny things. As Prabhupada said here, you sometimes have to. It's not cheating, but it looks like cheating in order to achieve purpose, so to speak. And you say, we're just going around now. It's Christmas time, Everyone throws something in. People are suffering all over the world. Throw something in to help people, And we go along, give everyone a BTG at the same. Everyone doesn't do like 100, 300 BTGs in a couple of hours or something. It's all right. Really amazing stories. So many stories that we've had. Okay, better finish there again. Oh no, Sankirtan scores, just for those who are interested. So far, 40 devotees have reported book scores this month, and there are lots who haven't. Even in this room, there are a few who are just waiting to distribute a book. Still waiting, but still got 10 days left. 9 days, 10 days, something like that. 8 days, whatever it is. So 40 devotees have distributed books. We've distributed 2,486 Mahabig books, and that's 99% Bhagavad Gita. Few Bhagavatam, but mostly Gita. 2,486, 72 big books, 906 medium, 794 small, 366 magazines, a lot more than that. They don't record them. 15 Arabic Gitas, 54 small Arabic books, 4 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets, 4 Srímad Bhágavatam sets, and we have some, what do they call it? Hidden scores, which we're not going to put in quite yet. And we hope that we're we are now 150 book points short of the highest marathon we've had since the 1980s.
Whoa! Round of applause.
Maybe today we will exceed the highest score we've had in a Christmas marathon since the 1980s.
Wow.
Maybe. Hopefully. And we have to thank all the devotees, those who are helping, those who are supporting, like here, going out of your way to support the devotees who are going on book distribution in various ways. It's crowded, it's not easy, we know that, but thank you very much. And Rajendra Madhava has been pumping them out, as you know. We lost Yorick, he was our top book distributor after 3 days, 4 days. He twisted his leg or something and has been out of action ever since. But other than that, Prashant, who's now gone back to London, we've lost him. Nitai Charan, who's building up now to a crescendo within the last week. He's going to be, giving a close run to the big guys at the top. Right, Nitai? You got 6 Bhagavatam sets lined up this week, isn't it? Hey, I don't know, maybe. Let's see. And this cheating rascal named this one here. We've got a few mystery scores lined up coming soon. And Julian, who's really excelled during this marathon, back to Julian, who goes out in his spare time, has distributed about 300 or 400 books so far, and 200 Gitas as well. Amazing. He's been averaging half a day, about 10 to 15 Gitas a time. Even the devotee in Jordan, Olivia's been out 1 to 2 days now. He went out yesterday. I haven't got his scores in there yet. He went out yesterday also, and he did 12 Gitas or something the day before yesterday, half a day. Jal did incredibly well. He's gone back to London, unfortunately. Gone to London, not back. He's going there for a while. Sutapa Prabhu, oh gosh, I wish he would stay here. He did 300 Gitas. The time he didn't go out every day, he had many other things to do. He did amazing. And then the top 3 big hits are all from France this year. This is the first time we've got 3 French devotees at the top. The first year, all 3 of us, the top 3 didn't speak French. Well, 2 of us did, and 1 speak broken French. Chakradar, he speaks broken French. But Acharya and myself, we didn't speak any French. But there weren't so many French devotees out, I guess. The next year, Jairam, the 2 of us did speak. Jairam speaks some French. And last year, it's becoming more and more French. That's great. So this year, Ramalila, her first time joining us in the marathon. Distributed 318 Gitas and many hundreds of other books. Is at the moment the 3rd highest book distributor in France. This marathon. Jai, Hari Bol. And 2nd, and very close now.
Non, Dayanita, il m'a doublé.
Second place.
Ah non.
Second place. Now very close to the top place book distributor is Nitai Prabhu. He brought up 50 book points almost yesterday. Rivatananda took a day off. And Rivatananda is top. 365 Gitas and about 300 other books. So we're coming close to the crescendo of Christmas, and then a few more days after Christmas probably. Let's see. 2 more days, today and tomorrow. Do our best, and Krishna will do the rest. And that's that. So anyone who has done or wants to do book distribution, is still time now. I know Sakanya Sita, you said you did 1 book?
1 book.
Well, that, make a note of that. Please explain how Jivananda Prabhu, how to spell your name exactly so we get it right.
Oh dear. Okay.
I think I know, but I may have got it wrong. And Krishna Prastaya, 1 book.
I'm going to do Arab books only.
No problem.
Get double the scores.
We haven't got enough unless you want to do the
You
old.
don't have enough?
We've got these old big ones. Maybe your father is involved in
You
those.
don't have the
We have a whole box of
small
those.
Gitas?
Yeah, we do.
Oh,
Small Gitas. You have to get good donations.
pardon?
You have to get donations.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We have sometimes our devotees, they're very tricky, you know. Very tricky. Because the Aragita counts 6 points by the BBT, 1 Gita, 3 times more than the English and the French ones. Some devotees are kind of trying to see an Arab. 6 months. You get these little donations, at least something. And Harry Bo to everyone. Well, bless the Prabhupada, we're going to get ready to get out there again on book distribution today. We're planning to go out today. We didn't go out yesterday and not much the day before. We're hoping to go out for a while today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Transcendental book distribution ki jai. God praise. Just a quick note, Manjuali down in Mayapur has been distributing about 6 kitas a day on her catering store.
Wow.
As well as at least as many higher tastes. So yeah, we can do books in different ways. It doesn't have to be just the traditional way. Hare Krishna. You know Harinam? Tomorrow is Harinam. Tonight there may be a home Harinam. I don't know if they talk to you. They're inviting you for a house program tonight.
Oh, I haven't been told yet, but
No, he'll call you this morning.
I'm available.
Yeah, the yoga lyric devoted. One of them could come to their house. They would love to have be with you tonight. I don't know. He's going to probably contact you this morning.